Hi, everyone. We're back for another guest interview. I'm so excited to introduce you to Amberly Lambertson today.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here.
Me too. Great to have you. So I'm just going to read a little bio and then we'll jump into questions.
Perfect.
So everyone, Amberly is a certified family life educator with a passion for teaching skills for marriage relationships specifically. She has a BS in family studies with an emphasis on communication and stress management for healthy relationships. She is currently working towards a master's in education, family life education emphasis. Amberly's expertise includes creative date night solutions and ideas, increasing emotional and physical intimacy and connection, making time for marriage every day, continuing to pursue and date your spouse, clear and regular communication, and having fun together.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, so cool. What got you into this, Amberly?
I just tell people I was always a hopeless romantic, and I happened to stumble on it wasn't like a plan of mine at all. I happened to stumble on a field that allowed me to really get involved with relationships. And somebody I actually went into the field of family studies because I had seen that you could be a music therapist if you went on and got a master's, and that's always intrigued me. And my first day in the program, in my bachelor's program, somebody said they wanted to be a marriage educator, and I was like, tell me more. And so it just kind of fell in my lap, I guess I would say. But I've always loved relationships. I've always been a hopeless romantic. I've always loved love. And so it's just something that I really enjoy. And it's been really fun to find this passion here and to be able to share that with others and to get others excited about their marriage relationship as well.
Yeah, totally. And I'm so curious, like, how do you help people like keep the romance alive? Because I'm sure a lot of people are like, we're feeling more like roommates, or we haven't had sex in a while. Like, how do you really keep that romance alive?
Yes. And so my whole goal is helping couples find ways to make their marriage a priority throughout every single stage of life, every single day. And I've been there and done that, know how hard it can be. Sometimes the seasons of life are like brief, like a couple of weeks. Sometimes you have no clue how long it's gonna last, and other times it's indefinite. And so finding those things, those little things that you can do every single day that are going to make a big difference. And that's where it kind of goes into that having fun together and continuing to pursue and date your spouse. And I always encourage couples, what were those things? And I was actually thinking about this today, ironically, like, what are those things that you really enjoyed doing together when you were dating? Like, what are the reasons that you decided to get married? Why, like, what did you love doing together? And I was thinking about this today. I don't even know why. I like was making my bed and having this thought process in my head that my husband and I love to laugh together. And so a lot of the things that we do revolve around laughing together, whether it's going to a comedy club, an improv show, going to see a comedian live, or watching something on, a streaming service or YouTube, or just sharing funny TikToks and memes and reels and links and things with each other all throughout the day, or like laughing together about silly things our kids have done. Like, we're always looking for those opportunities to laugh together. And I think
Mm.
that helps us stay grounded in we're more than business partners and parenting partners. And like, I mean, business partners as in like we have a house and we have to pay bills and you know what I mean? It's more than that everyday business stuff. That there is that relationship that's at the foundation of our marriage, and we
Mm.
really have to keep that relationship that we have with each other strong if we want to continue to be better partners in all those other areas. So just finding those things that you guys loved and getting back to that in some way every single day. And we don't go see a comedian live every single day. It maybe happens once a year because it's like a couple $100 to get tickets, right?
Yeah.
But we can pull up their shows for free on Netflix, or we can
Mm.
watch little clips of theirs on their social media, or, you can take that and scale it down and like, what can we do to laugh today? Or, something will happen and I'll be like, remember that show we went to see for Valentine's Day? And there was this part that I was like crying, laughing over because it was so funny. Like that happened to me today. Like it's relatable because, and so that's kind of my real life example, but on a more general level, it's what are those things that you guys really enjoyed and how can you enjoy them now?
Mhm.
Maybe I'll give another example of another couple that I've seen. I have a couple that it was actually the first person I found in the blogging world, I would say, outside of my website used to be one of those journal type blogs, and I would share fun trips the two of us went on and fun date night ideas. And I discovered other websites out there that like people read your stuff that don't even know you and they're interested in it. And she shared about relationships and her marriage, and her husband, one of their favorite things is food. They love trying new foods together. And so for them, it's cooking at home, trying something new, or going out and trying a new restaurant. Or right now, I've seen them, they're traveling and they're like in Europe somewhere and like trying all this new food. And so for them, it's finding that thing, that common interest, that common ground. What's that stuff that you love to do together? And how can you do that now at various levels?
Yeah, so good. And like you said, making it a time for marriage every day, because I imagine like it's so easy to get like into this like autopilot mode where we're going through the motions, and sometimes you get to a point where like I don't even remember the last time we like shared an intimate moment, like
Yeah.
not specifically just sex, but like really felt like present with each other. And so yeah, I really love that you like really highlight that, like make time for this every day.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be, I think people always push back a little bit with me that like we don't have hours every day. Neither do I. Sometimes I do have hours. I just planned, I shared this on Instagram that I just planned our anniversary getaway. And that's going to be like a whole entire 48 hours that we're going to spend together. But we don't always have that. We have work, we have school, we have kids, we have other life responsibilities. And so some nights, like last night, my husband got home from work while I was at class, and I came home from class while he was doing homework. And so our time together was like 10 minutes at the end of the day, and it was just connecting. Other days we have a couple of hours, or we have half an hour to go sit on the deck, or you know what I mean? And so when I say make time, it is like, what can you do today? It's not, oh, don't have time today. Like, what time do you have today that you can make time for your marriage? Because there's other things that are going to happen and there's other things that are important in life. But if your spouse is important and your marriage relationship is important, then you're going to make time for that in the midst of all that other stuff.
Yeah, and it can just be like a moment or two throughout the day, like maybe you just like kind of like before one of you leaves the house, like you just like come in for like a really present hug, and then like that's fulfilling, you
Yeah.
know? So
I
it can
think,
be like little moments throughout the day.
yeah. Like, how often are we in a rush to get out the door to go somewhere and it's just a quick peck on the cheek or a peck on the lips? Like, if
Hmm.
you take an extra 10 seconds to really share a hug or like a long, passionate kiss,
Yeah.
is that really going to make you that much later? No. Like, it's worth that extra 10 seconds. And
Yeah.
it's not going to impact the rest of your day negatively. It will actually have a positive impact on that.
Hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. We all have an extra 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And that's how easy it can be. So I'm really curious, Amberly, when in your work with couples, like what are some like myths that you find like about relationships that people have created that
I'm actually working on a post on this, on things you have to stop believing about marriage.
yeah.
Uh, and it's things like, kind of like we talked about, like that the longer you're married, the romance is gonna die.
Mm,
Like, it doesn't have to die. I see couples, and maybe it does, it's gonna ebb and flow, maybe, but you can see it changing and you can shift to make it go the way you want it to go, right? You don't just have to accept that, oh, we've been married for like 15, 20, 50 years or whatever. This is just how that is. Like,
mm-hmm.
no, you get to make your marriage what you want your marriage to be. Another one I think is couples are constantly looking like, well, I have to have a marriage like them, or I have to do this thing to have a good marriage. You don't have to. And I try to share real life examples from my own marriage, real life examples I've seen from other couples' marriage, but give like a more general, kind of like I did a few minutes ago, give a more general like idea. Like for every single couple, there is some reason you enjoyed being together and why you got married. And you can pull that in, and it's going to look different for every couple. But you don't have to take every single piece of marriage advice and apply it or make your marriage look exactly like that couple that you aspire to be. What are those things that they are doing that you feel like make them a strong couple? And how can you personalize that to your marriage? Because your marriage is going to be yours. And what makes it successful is going to be unique to the two of you, and what it needs every single day is going to be different, and so it's going to look different. So I think I read something on Twitter the other day where somebody said my best piece of marriage advice is don't listen to marriage advice, and I kind of laughed and I'm like, but I love marriage advice, like I love sharing marriage advice, but like I think you have to take it with a grain of salt and then take it and apply it to your own marriage and figure out like, how does that look for us? Like, what do I need from this piece of marriage advice? And it's kind of like the one that's I think has been embraced, well, that rejecting this has been embraced, the going to bed angry one, never go to bed angry is like the common marriage advice. Like, does that really make sense? Like, when would that make sense? For some couples, you might need to not go to bed angry at some point, or you might need to like set that aside. We're setting aside, we're reconnecting, we're coming together, and we're going to hold hands as we fall asleep, but we're not going to let that, you're not going to bed angry, but you're not sitting and rehashing this for hours while you're both super tired to solve the argument. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think it's just like really thinking through things that you hear and really thinking through, how does this apply to me? How does this apply to my marriage? And so I think that long little journey that I just took, that's my best advice, is take the marriage advice, but make it yours. And do what works for you, and don't expect what works for someone else to work exactly the same for you.
Yeah, cater to your own relationships, needs, and wants and desires.
And I even think too, sorry, my brain just starts going, that what worked for my husband, I say that laughing together works for us and stuff like that, but what worked for us when we were newlyweds or dating doesn't exactly work for us now, right? Like,
Yeah.
you might have to shift what you're doing and make it work. What's the point of that thing that we do? And is it really serving us now? Or is it, you know what I mean? Is it hindering us? Could we change it? Could we get rid of it? Whatever that looks like. And so I think even for your own personal, like, marriage journey, like, don't assume that exactly what you're doing now is going to be exactly what you need to do 10 years from now or 10 months from now, or you know what I mean? Like, be constantly looking at it and changing.
Yeah, and things evolve as we're meant to. The relationship is meant to evolve and grow in different ways. So, yeah.
For sure. For sure.
I have a question.
Okay.
What do you say to a couple who may be experiencing, like, one of them is like feeling kind of dissatisfied around the intimate, sensual, sexual pleasure needs, and the other one seems fine? Like, what do you kind of suggest to people who may be experiencing that?
So one of my goals, key topics, everything is clear and consistent communication. And that I think applies to every single area of your marriage. And I think sometimes it's going to be easier. It's going to be easier to be transparent and vulnerable and share. And other times it's not going to be as easy. My child is yelling at me. I told her I am getting on a Zoom call. She's fine. I'm just going to ignore her for a minute. And okay, grab yourself a snack. I'm on my meeting. So, okay, going back to what I was saying, you have to have that clear and consistent communication. And I think that physical intimacy, sexual intimacy is a really, really hard one in marriage, because it can be easy to feel I don't want to say offended. It can be easy to feel hurt and take things personal.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that has to be reassessed regularly.
Mm,
Because what that looks like when you're newlyweds versus, when you're new parents versus when you're old, it's going to look different, and it ebbs and flows too. And so I love doing like a marriage check-in, like a state of our marriage situation, and going through, and I think it can happen monthly or quarterly or whatever you think it needs to be. But I think that couples can bring this up and say, hey, can we just have like a state of our marriage? Like, see how we both feel like we are, just do like a little, check in to see where we're at, and just to sit down and say, okay, where do we feel like we're at with our finances? Where do we feel like we're at with our communication? Where do we feel like we are at with our sexual intimacy? And
mm,
and having that set, like, everything, kind of setting some ground rules or some expectation that everything that you share is shared in love. And
yeah.
I think sharing positives along with things that you maybe wish were different. So maybe it's like, we haven't been eating out as much and haven't been spending as much money with the finances, but I've noticed that we are doing this, and kind of not putting the blame on, like, I've noticed that you are still, you know what I mean? I've noticed that we are still struggling with this and this and this. How can we fix that? I
Mhm.
really love when we do this, or this experience that we had together in the bedroom the other day was so good. Like, but I
Yeah.
feel like I'm missing this piece, or I feel like we're just not where we should be or could be. What can we do together to make that better?
Yeah, definitely. Highlighting the good things too.
Yes.
So,
And
so
so,
important.
like I said, I think it could be like just a simple communication. And they always say, like, don't let it happen in the moment or right after a moment or when you're in the bedroom, like, have it happen some other time.
Mhm.
A couple that I follow always says that they like to use something else. So, like, I had this crazy dream last night, and in this dream, this happened. How would you feel about trying that? Or I follow this page, or I'm in this Facebook group, or I follow these people on Instagram, and they were talking about this, like, curious what you think about that. Or how do you feel about scheduling intimacy? Like, have you ever thought about that? Like, here's some articles I was reading recently about it, and it made me think, like, pulling it from not a place of I feel this, but like, I've really been thinking about this lately because of this other thing I've noticed. And so it
Mm.
makes it less defensive, less attacking, and less of like a we need to talk situation.
Yeah, everyone hates that
Yes,
line.
more positive.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. I'm glad you brought all of that up. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us just before we wrap up here?
Oh, so many things I would share. I think I would just share kind of like we've been talking about, like, really sit down and look at what your marriage is now, where it used to be, where you want it to be moving forward, and what you need to do to get to that marriage. What do you envision the two of you doing 5 years from now, or next year, or when you pass this season of your life? And is that going to be possible if you're just putting your marriage on the back burner? Probably not. What do you need to do now to create that marriage reality for yourselves in the future? And I think that'll help you look at, like, what does our date night situation look like? How are
Mhm.
we communicating? Do we have any hobbies or things we enjoy doing together? Like, um, do we really feel like we have that deep connection in all these different areas of our life? And so
Mhm.
you can just sit down, and it's fun to do, like, over dinner, out at a restaurant. I've got my little, she's going to join me for my marriage discussion. You say hi. She can only see the top of your head. She's like, I'm going to be shy. But it can happen over dinner. It can be like you do a weekend getaway and that's what you focus on. It can be just like a one, like, hey, let's spend an afternoon, and make it an exciting thing. Like, that's always my goal. That's why I've gone into marriage and family life education versus like family therapy. I love
Mhm.
the, like, preventative side and getting people excited about it, and that this is fun and it's exciting and it's a positive thing. And yes, it's hard and has, ugly points and things like that, but putting all that effort in the prevention side, you're not going to
Mhm.
be as apt to get to that point when you need all of that help to get you back to a point where maybe you want to continue on together. Like, I really want
Mhm.
couples to be able to enjoy their time together and have fun together, and that even amidst all of the life chaos and whatever things are going on between you, that at the end of the day, you really enjoy each other. And kind of like we talked about, like the going to bed or angry, like no matter what happens during the day, you can go to bed at the end of the night and enjoy being together. And this is my person, and I'm still excited to get up with them in the morning, and I still love being with them and still love talking to them and things like that. That's like the
Mm.
ultimate goal, I think, for me, is to create that happiness and excitement for marriage.
Yeah, exactly. And you shared so many great points today that really supports people in doing so. So thank you for the work you do in the world. I'm so excited to know you.
You're welcome. Thanks for all you do. I've loved seeing all of your content and everything you've got going on. It's super fun.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And thanks for being here, sharing all your wisdom. It was so lovely to have you, and I would love to have you back again.
Yeah, I would love that. It was fun chatting with you today.
Me too. Well, thank you again, and thanks to the audience for watching, and we'll see you for the next guest interview. Bye for now.